Hey everyone, my name is Garrett Enox, and I work at Rapid7 as a security consultant delivering services such as deployment and specialized training. Today, I will be filling the role of the security analyst working the blue side, utilizing the SIM Insight IDR.
Hey, this is Julius from Rapid7. I am a security advisor for our managed services AppSec team, and today I'll be playing the role of evil hacker in this CTF style exercise. Okay, so let's set the stage. I was contacted by a disgruntled employee to obtain his previous employer's internal credit card list so he can sell it on the dark web. He also says he has a guy on the inside that's going to help me retrieve this list. And so let's take a look at the email he sent me.
I've got a job for you. Swiping the internal credit card list for my ex-employer. They think they can just fire me for no reason? I'll show them. I've got a guy on the inside. My source tells me there's some instructions on one of the defunct web servers that will help you retrieve the list. You get that credit card list, and the money is yours.
So there's my motivation. Money. So I've got my Kali instance up and running. Let's get this party started. All right, so we're gonna start off by running nmap against their /24 just to see what assets we can find. We got to start somewhere, right? And so let's start here. I'm going to use the V flag for verbose so we can see what's happening in real time. So we can kind of see the list as it's being generated. I kind of like to see things in real time the best I can. And so here's our /24. Let's kick this off. And let's see what we get. Results are good. Looks like we got some stuff. That's a good sign. We're not on some dead subnetwork or anything. All right, awesome. So let's work our way from the bottom up and see what we have. So it looks like some usual suspects here. Um, Maybe a Windows box. Let's see what else. We got another maybe Windows, maybe Linux. We got port 22. That's good. Yeah, let's see. More Windows, Linux. Let's see what we got here. Just keep scrolling. Okay, so this is interesting. And this is a little concerning. I'm not going to lie. Usually when we see an asset with this many open ports or services, we either hit maybe a load balancer, a firewall, or worst case scenario, a honeypot. Now, any sane attacker would probably turn back now. There's a good chance that may have been a honeypot. It's too risky at this point. We may have already been made. So, game over. However, I'm a greedy hacker, and I really want that payout, so I'm just going to keep moving on.
All right, so the company I work for has been going through some internal management changes and had to let some folks go that, let's just say, didn't quite agree with the reason for their departure. Oddly enough, management wasn't too concerned about it, but I had a gut feeling and thought, why not take some precautionary steps with this SIM tool we have, Insight IDR. Once we've logged into the SIM through our browser, we can see I've already gone through the initial setup. As you can see, users, how many events processed, endpoints monitored, new alerts in the past 24 hours, and if I have any honeypots deployed. Some of the other deception technologies have also been deployed, such as the honey file, and the honey file should pick up on any ransomware or just curious intruders trying to find gold. Unfortunately for them, the gold they will be finding will be made of sweet deception. Now, I've also deployed several agents in my environment as well, roughly about 5 total, but all look to be reporting back in healthy condition, as you can see. Now, agents are great for detecting things such as brute force attempts on local accounts and assets, detection evasion like deleting event logs, malicious hashes, lateral movements, remote file execution, just to name a few. So as we look at the web UI, you would mainly be on the lookout for new alerts coming in that may or may not require action. Such actions that have potential to prevent or disrupt an attack, or tune the product to be more effective if the behavior is just business as usual. Now, in this exercise, the first alerts we see are from reconnaissance, which could be a sign of network enumeration or something along those lines. So let's take a deeper look and see what IDR has for us. Now, when we look back at the web UI, the lightning bolt at the top right corner lights up with numbers as well as the new alerts number increasing for the past 24 hours. Either one of these can be drilled down. And as we dig deeper into the investigation, we can see several items along the top as well as the evidence of what transpired here. When looking at the evidence, we can see numerous ports have had network connections attempted against them, and the honeypot picked it up for us. This looks like an Nmap scam against our network from the looks of it, and with my past experience, kind of what this reminds me of. Seeing over 91 attempts over here in the evidence. So we can also hide or show the actors involved, if there's any, as well as changing the view from a graphical view to a table-like view, depending on preference. Personally, I like the table view for longer investigations and graphical for shorter. I can also assign it to myself and add notes as to what I found in the evidence. This could be something like, I don't know, someone running a ping sweep or some type of enumeration scan potentially happening here. Clearly, this isn't good news, and if this wasn't an exercise, more actions would be taken here as far as trying to stop the attacker. But this is an exercise, so they're lucky. Unfortunately, at this stage, we cannot see or know what the attacker is after, whether that be company information or just pie data to sell on the dark web. We at least know that someone is curious in our midst, so time to be on high alert.
Okay, so our informant said to look for a defunct web server, and we know web servers like to run on port 80. So let's look through these assets to see what we have with port 80, what assets have port 80 running. Right off the bat, we got a contender here. Got port 80 open on this fella. So 106. We are going to try this. And let's see what we get. Any luck? No luck here. Let's keep moving. And no, nothing there, nothing there. Oh, here we go. Linux box this time, it looks like maybe. Port 80 open, good sign. Let's check this guy out. Or girl. We don't discriminate. Web servers can be girls too. So let's try this one. See if we have any better luck here. Okay, this looks better. Looks promising. Looks like a defunct server to me. Site down for maintenance. Doing some work on it. So let's see what we have. Just a basic message, image. Let's check page source. I'm a huge fan of checking this. Sometimes developers may just leave internal notes. Sometimes even credentials. You name it. It's been left on the page. This looks pretty clean though. I don't really see anything here that's going to help us. One thing to note though, obviously most sites have links, right? You know, they're comprised of multiple pages. So there's a good chance there's lots of pages underneath this home page. But it's down, so we can't really see them. So we need to find another way to maybe enumerate those. We could just sit here manually and try some slash something, you know, directory to see if it exists. Maybe we're lucky. But there's smarter ways to do this and much faster ways to do this as well. So we're going to go back to our Kali instance and actually use Derb, Directory Buster, just to see if we can maybe throw a list at it of kind of known directory paths to see if maybe we can find something. So this is just going to start throwing some directories at it, see if we get a 200 response. If we do, it's going to show it. If not, it may just keep moving on. So we're going to see what kind of luck we can get out of running the derb. So let's go ahead and run that. And let's see if we get any luck. So we're kicking this off. It's going through its internal word list. Awesome. It looks like we already got a hit here. We have an open directory, which is actually listable. So that's interesting. Usually, if a directory is listable, it means there's no index file or index PHP. It's just literally an open directory with who knows what in it. It doesn't help that it's also named hidden. So that's pretty conspicuous, I would say. So let's check that out and see what we get. Awesome. Just as we maybe suspected. Open listing here, and sure enough, we got a config file. Those are fairly common. This, however, looks a little suspicious. But normally, seeing config files, no one would think the wiser. Maybe that's why our guy named it that. We're going to open it. Sure enough, this is usually not the contents of a config file. This is definitely a message from our guy on the inside. So kudos to him. And let's see, it looks like he's found a jump box over at a 103 address. So we got a new target. He was able to get a username, administrator, so that's pretty awesome. That's going to help us tremendously. But we're on our own for the password. There's ways around that. If we can RDP in, that's something to look for. We should be able to access the network and retrieve the credit card list. So I'm guessing we're going to need to get into the box and then maybe go through a network share of some sort. Obviously, probably the box we're getting onto is probably not going to be our final target there. So with that said, let's go ahead and head back to our Kali instance and see if we can find a way in.
At this point, it's safe to say we know someone is snooping around on the network due to the honeypot alerts triggered earlier. The next thing we see in Insight IDR are custom alerts triggering, and as we dig deeper into the investigation area, again, we can see that I have set up a custom alert to trigger if anyone were to hit these websites that most likely shouldn't be, as they are under construction. Looking at these investigations, roughly 10 popped off as unique, so let's drill into one to get a better idea of what's happening. If we click into the evidence, we can see that this was a GET request to our web server, which generated a 404 error, triggering the custom alert. This one in particular tried .cvs ignore, so we will take note of that for later verification and validation in the logs. However, the evidence can also be very telling as to what transpired, what protocol used, what port did they use, the request that was generated. All of this can be helpful. Again, we can add notes as to what we think happened, or just notes for the next analyst working next shift. Now, these notes are important as they can help the next shift understand exactly where our mindset was in assessing this alert. Was it a potential go-buster type of attack, dir-buster? We don't quite know yet, but we have a pretty good idea from our past experience. Now, we can also add several types of data to an investigation to bring more weight and evidence of malicious behavior. First, we will start with log data. And as we are collecting the Apache web server logs in IDR, we'll have good insight into what's happening. So first, we're going to make sure that the appropriate logs are selected for our search, and then we can begin bringing in more valuable data into our investigation. From my experience with this type of behavior, it looks like a directory traversal type attack playing out here with all the different GET requests to random URLs, especially in such a short amount of time. We can utilize the query bar if necessary, but it's pretty clear what is going on here already. So the next thing we can do is send some of these logs or evidence to the investigation. You can do that by selecting the log lines that we want to bring in. So I'll grab a few and send them to the investigation's timeline. This way we can view them in the actual investigation itself. Now I can add more context if I like as to what these logs represent, so I'll do that. And just to drop a few of my thoughts in there for the next analyst, or just reference purposes. It's anything to help the next person or yourself is going to be gold. And voila, our investigation is slowly building up with valuable information pertaining to this exercise. I'm going to sign it off with our signature there and save it up. And there we are. So a nice graphical view there. I'm also going to assign this to myself since I will be working this case and I want to notify my team that I'm on the matter. Another feature we could take advantage of here would be the take action feature. which allows us to quarantine an asset that we see acting malicious. Due to this being an exercise, we're going to let them continue, but at this point, it would be game over for a curious gold farmer. And, take it while you can. It's game over. So another thing we can do to validate what we are seeing in our investigation is to hop over to log search. Now we can make sure the logs are selected properly, which they are, and then wow, look at all those 404 events taking place. Yeah, I'd say we're being hit with some form of directory traversal attack. I'm not sure the tool that they used, but sure enough, the evidence is right there in front of us. And everyone's on lunch right now, so I need to make sure that I'm taking the necessary action. And if this wasn't an exercise, again, game, set, match.
Okay, so let's recap. We have an IP address to a new target, quote unquote jump box. We have a username of administrator. Our informant also mentions RDP, so we're going to look for some specific ports for that. But we're on our own for the password. So let's let's just double check this asset just to see if maybe there is just a possible way in, and then we'll get to the password hurdle. So let's go ahead and run an nmap again against our target. I am going to use the V flag. Let's hit this, and if I can't spell nmap right, in amp. We're going to rock and roll here. Let's try this again. Awesome, here we go. So we got an asset, and we got a few things that's looking in our favor, right? We got port 3389, that's fairly synonymous with RDP, and we also have 445, which is fairly synonymous with the SMB. So we may be able to remote authenticate to this device actually. So this is actually looking really good for us. We're going to try and use SMB login module and see if we can maybe brute force a credential or password. And if we can get that, there's a real good chance that we're going to be able to RDP into this box. So we're going to hop on over to our Metasploit framework here. I love shells. Who doesn't? And let's see if we can find this SMB login module and take advantage of that. So we're going to search SMB login, and we got some results. We don't want a fuzzer, we want the scanner. So we're going to use our SMB login. Cool, so we got that module loaded. We're going to show some options. And these are all the settings we can use with this module. So right off the bat, we're going to need to set the target. And that's going to be our 103. So we're setting the target. We will need to set the SMB user. So we got lucky with that. Our guy on the inside was able to come through with administrator. That's half the battle. We will need a password file. So we're going to use set our old reliable RockU list. And that is not the way to the RockU list. Let's get our RockU list here. Old Faithful. So we've set our target, we've set our username, we've set our password list. This is the list of passwords. I think there's a few million in this list here that it's going to try and iterate through and just consider it a brute force. Check in every one, see if it works. If not, we went on to the next one. We will also want to set verbose to true. Again, I'm a huge fan of seeing stuff in real time. We're going to want to set stop on success to true. Again, this is a massive list, and it's going to go by quick, and we don't want our password flashing before our eyes. We would like for the module to stop on it. And we're going to go ahead and run the exploit. And we're off to the races. And we can do is kind of just cross our fingers, man, and hope they used a generic password or something that's in this list. So crossing fingers here. Oh man, what do you know? We got a hit. This is awesome. So it looks like we got a success, and how original. They use the word password just in a slightly altered way. So we're rocking. This is great. We have a username, we have a password now, and we have our target, and we know that there's a good chance RDP is running here. And at this point, we'll see if we can get in.
All right, we are back and just finally sitting down to eat, and boom, we get hit with a brute force attempt on our administrator account of all things. Just can't catch a break today. Looking at the evidence right away, we can see the administrator account was attempted to access one of our trading servers as well as the IP of the asset. Now we could take action, quarantine the asset, but we won't, due to this being an exercise, and we want them to feel good about themselves as a hacker. Now, I will go ahead and assign this to myself again, as I have been tracking this individual from the beginning through Insight IDR. If this was not malicious, I could whitelist this alert through our closure options, but I have a feeling it is. Due to all the behavior and activities that have, we've seen transpire today, it's pretty clear we're not in Kansas anymore. Now we can switch to table view as well, as I imagine this investigation is going to have a lot of data. Now, earlier I mentioned deploying some honey files in my environment. And fortunately for me, it was on all of the training servers. Now, I didn't mention this, that I created this file to anyone, so no one should have any idea of its contents or whereabouts, or that it even exists entirely. Even members of my organization are unaware of this feature being implemented, so it should be business as usual for coworkers and live bait for attackers. Now, the place you set these up is located in the settings section on the lower left-hand side of the web UI. And as you can see, I've set this up on the training DC, so if they do get the password on training serve 1 in those brute force attempts and they happen to find our file, we should also be notified. Now that we know this is set up, we'll keep our eyes open for any hits on this file, as that's going to be a red flag right away. And again, we can stop the attacker in their tracks at this point, but due to this being an exercise, we shall let it continue. But the buzzer beater was already blocked already, but for proof of concepts, we can shut the door here as well.
Okay, so to recap, we have a username administrator, we have a password. Let's see if we can RDP into this box. So let's go ahead and give ourselves some space here. Our desktop. We're going to set a little resolution here. And let's see if we can get in. Awesome. This looks very promising. So we're gonna try and log in as administrator with our newly found password. And bam, what do you know? We are in. This is awesome. We got a really good foothold here. Time is of the essence. I still feel a little uneasy about that box we hit in the beginning. There's a real good chance that was a honeypot. So there's a real good chance we may be being followed, if you will. So at this point, it's just going to be kind of like I don't know, just a bash and grab. We're just going to try and go through as much stuff as we possibly can. So we know we need to access the network share, right? At this point, we're just going to start seeing what's around. Okay, we got more stuff loading. That's good. Let's go here. Nope, dead end. Let's go in here. I don't think our current credentials are going to work for that. Let's just keep clicking. Oh, we got a MySQL share. Oh, nope, dead end. Let's keep going here. What else we got? Let's click on this guy. Nope, empty. Let's see what else we got. Okay, well, this is good. Lots of shares here. Let's start at the top. Oh, what do you know? What do you know? This looks promising. This looks very good. I would say, ladies and gentlemen, this looks like a credit card list to me. This looks like a successful campaign. And it's time to go shopping.
At this point in the exercise, we can safely say someone has been poking around, or at the least looking around for buried treasure. Ah, We see another alert pop off. Jumping right into the investigation, we can see that a honey file was accessed. Again, we can see more if we click into the investigation, and once here, we can dig deeper and look at the evidence. Once we get into the investigation and into the evidence portion, we can see that the administrator account has accessed the honey file we mentioned earlier in the exercise, with an access type of read. At this point again, we could end the attacker's time and take action, quarantining the asset, leaving it stranded without a paddle, but we'll give them some sense of freedom and let it go for the time being due to this being an exercise. Now I'm going to quickly assign the investigation to myself to let my team know, hey, I'm on it. Next, we'll add some data to this investigation to bring more weight and value, starting with log data. From here, identical to log search, we verify the log selection and then choose our time picker for today, grabbing some of the directory traversal evidence from earlier to corroborate this investigation together, as it's probably the same actor or same people trying to get in, and adding those log entries to the investigation timeline is paramount. Now, leaving nice descriptions can't ever hurt and can help to allude to what happened and our thoughts on the matter. What type of attack was it? Did we take action? Back to the timeline, changing the view to table view can also help with visibility in seeing what transpired and what took place today. Again, we have the ability to quarantine this asset, but luckily for this individual in this exercise, the attacker got away with a honey file that won't get very far in reality anyway, but we shall let them figure that out on their own.